Hi, I'm Heather Slevin and I'm here today with Darragh Kane O'Toole, who is one of this year's Education Officer candidates. Darragh is a final year Economics and Sociology student and we're here to do an interview today. Yay. So Darragh, are you a member of or connected to any political party?
No.
Have you ever been involved with a campaign of a previous SU sabbatical candidate?
Not in a major part. I shared some socials. I couldn't even tell you of who. I just share socials for everyone because student engagement is important and I usually know the candidates, so it's not good.
What, if any, positions do you currently hold on campus?
I am the UCD Philosophy Society Auditor and I am the UCDSU Disability Campaigns Coordinator. And there's a couple of things that go along with that, sitting on some committees and stuff.
What experience do you have that qualifies you for the position?
Since I was 15, I've been volunteering in educational institutes in my local area. Well, from 16 to 18, I was involved in a place called Citywise Education. I delivered leadership programs there, and I did two separate STEM classes, one that I'm still kind of involved in, so I'm very familiar with not only like policy education, but I've got a lot of interest and experience in teaching and learning as a teacher, in a sense. And then my time involved in the SU, it's hectic and you learn a lot, and the mechanisms in UCD are very bureaucratic and policy based, and I think I've learned a lot about them, in particular as the Disability Campaign Coordinator.
Yes.
I sit on like 2 equality, diversity, inclusion committees for neurodiversity and disability. I found them really, really useful. What
is the single most important part of the position?
I think the most important part of the position is it's titled as the generalized advancement of student academic interests. And I think that's the most important part overall, and that's delivered through sitting on various committees representing students and plagiarism issues and hearings and that sort of thing. And a part that I'm going to take a particular interest in is the career-related aspect of the role in the Constitution, because I think employability is, for many students, the bottom line, and especially if you're not engaging with the SU now, employability is something that everyone engages with.
Why should students vote for you over other candidates or ROM?
I think I've got a lot of experience in education, generally speaking, and I feel like with a role as complex as a sabbatical officer, it took me, I'd say, a few months to really get into speaking at committees. And the education officer, I've heard the current officer say, sits on up to 30 committees, and you've also got working groups and all the program boards. And I think sitting on committees is a very stressful task. Mm-hmm. I think the experience in that is very relevant to the role.
What are the 3 main issues UCD students are concerned about?
The main issues relating to education that I've identified that I think students are concerned about is the difficulty of finding out basic information within UCD is immensely stressful for no good reason. So I plan on working on just the equivalent of a frequently asked questions how to education guidebook that I'm going to plan to run like a set of events alongside promoting. That is one of the issues. Careers, I think students care about careers even if they don't care about the Students' Union. Unfortunately, education is very, very heavily career focused. But you got to give the people what they want, and people seem to care about their careers and their headshots. And a big part of my plan is to deliver skills-related events on specific training points. And then the other one kind of part is just to lobby for, module expenses. I would love to make action on fees, and I will definitely campaign on it, but it's not a specific thing of interest because it's a long-term issue that students all over Ireland face. So I currently take a lot of interest in the repeat resit fees. It's important. I'm going to see if I can, through committees and discussions, work on any way of reducing them.
And then how would you rate the performance of the programme offices throughout UCD?
I hear very mixed things from students about all the programme offices, so I wouldn't want to generalise them, but they could all do better is probably the answer.
And then how would you rate the clarity of academic information given to students regarding exams, resits, registration, etc.? Something you already spoke about, but...
Badly.
The
information, if you can find it, is usually not so bad. Yeah. But finding it is in it of itself an immense challenge. I don't think it's the information isn't available. I think it's just too hard to find. That's why part of what I've been like, I want to make like a handbook where it's just I can bring as much of the information into as condensed space or booklet or as possible, because it would help myself, it would help class reps, it would help students.
Right.
It would help people, it would probably help the student help desk.
Yeah. And then what do you think of Susie as a support?
I myself, as someone who's on Susie, think it's great. But in the wider sense of Susie, it's if you live outside of the county that you study in, or if you're going to be travelling in Ireland to study, Susie is nowhere near enough money at all. It's like I don't know, there's a leak in a dam and you duct tape it.
Yes.
There's still going to be water going through.
There's still a problem.
There's still students who are not accessing higher education for financial reasons, be it through actual cost of entry or the cost of sustaining your existence within a university setting.
And then what would you think the biggest barriers are to accessing an education UCD for any prospective students?
I think the biggest issue about accessing UCD, it's UCD is a little bit of a elitist institution, unfortunately, and in the area I live in, I live in Jobstown, it's the average progression rates last time I checked were 15 to 20% to any higher education institute. Then if we specify that to UCD, I'd imagine the numbers look a lot worse. So I think UCD, I don't believe, is doing enough of the type of outreach that will get students from these diverse backgrounds into higher education. I think generally speaking, it's too expensive as well. If you didn't live in Dublin, accommodation is insane.
Yes, it's very
The private
inaccessible.
market is awful because it's a private market and private markets are evil. Despite what the free market ideas will tell you, it's not how it works in practice. There's financial barriers and then there's social barriers. The social barriers are much more complicated to overcome.
Yes.
But there are other universities making outreach programs that are having good effects on people, on prospective students. If there's supports, people can go to higher education. But without supports, without training, without assistance, the money alone won't get people into higher education from these areas. It will definitely help, but there's the social part of going on to education is a big thing that a lot of the time is very easy to forget about because
you feel it's easily ignored.
The financial issues are very pressing on everyone, but when there's financial issues and then they're compounded by social issues and around accessibility, even just the perception of accessibility to higher Trinity, UCD, DCU, the elite institutions, because fortunately I would say they are a bit elitist as I sit in one, but they are. Do
you think you could define what you mean when you say that they're elitist?
Elitist, the progression rates to higher education, if you look at UCD, there's a very disproportionate amount of students who come from very specific areas within the immediate area. In Dublin 4 and even I went to school in Temple Ogue, the rates from Temple Ogue are much higher than they should be, proportional to the population of the area.
What do you think the quality of service offered by the Access Centre is like?
The Access Centre does the best with what it has, and it doesn't have enough. I think the Access Leader program, as I experienced it, was very useful. I made some good friends. I made some people that were not friends, but we would talk. They're useful, almost academic supports. We ask you the questions. We try and make it through the university experience like everyone else, and Access definitely helped bring that for me.
Okay.
But I think for any real long-lasting improvements to Access, it needs to be a funding thing, because every time I try to organise a meeting with Access's Disability Campaigns Coordinator, they're like, we're really, really busy. And it's all the time. And I have a feeling they're not just blowing me off. I think they are really busy.
You think that funding could help provide better quality services?
I think the Access Centre does a lot of great work. And the people in it, I believe, are all as sincere and genuine as
they can be.
As you need. It's just a question of, do they have enough support from the university? And I have a strong feeling that they probably don't.
Okay.
So
you mentioned in your manifesto about your plan to try and diversify career fairs to offer alternative career paths that do not dominate life. Do you think students would want this change, or do you think that they would want more opportunities?
Within certain faculties, there's definitely a demand for more options and variety. I've spoken to a few people from student journalism, funnily enough, and they always talk about the lack of opportunities for journalism as an example on career fairs or in panels run by schools because there's no journalism school. So that'd be one example of something that I think running events, promoting different alternative things like that.
Mm-hmm.
There is NGO events for careers in them, but they're quite sparring, and a lot of people in the School of Social Science would be interested in that. Some more sustainability stuff, like the career events I've gone to have been dominated by a very specific type of employment, and there's nothing intrinsically wrong with most of it.
Yeah.
Some people want to go work for the big fours, the big techs, the main law companies, and all of that. But not everyone wants that path, and I feel they don't get represented.
And you've spoken a lot about soft skills and soft skills training.
Yes.
Have you thought about what kind of speakers you'd hope to have come in to speak to students?
There are a couple of professionals who deliver trainings that on different types of, well, there's this one guy that through an Actis, he taught us about how to deliver a presentation. And it was the most informative presentation and like public speaking thing I've ever done. He'd be one guy. His name specifically has eluded me. I added him on LinkedIn years ago. But there's loads of people who have lots of good professional experience and for a fee and sometimes for free are happy to share it. And I think students who don't want to get involved in societies, and there are many of them,
yes,
but want to learn about careers and want to get better and more employable, I feel like they struggle to get involved with the parts of, like, and a good example is societies run lots of careers events, but societies aren't for everyone.
No.
As with the SU is not for everyone, but to try run events where people have the opportunity to access the same speakers through a different avenue with less commitment.
And then again with the soft skill workshops having speakers coming in, you said some of them might be willing to speak without a fee, but some will be expecting a fee.
Yes.
Is that a part of the kind of budget you thought about?
That is definitely part of the budget I considered. There is a line somewhere of how much we can pay, like can be paid and should be paid.
Yes.
So obviously it's something I'd have to, like, I'd need quotes and inquiries to make decisions on that, but it's definitely something I've considered because a lot of the high quality speakers unfortunately do not speak for free.
And then in terms again of sort of talking about financial issues, how would you plan to engage with the university to reduce recent repeat fees, etc.?
I think through committees is the most effective way.
Okay.
I think there is an opportunity to pursue change in the change of power that's happening in UCD with Mark Rogers becoming the deputy president. I'm hopeful that there is a chance to make change that has been held up by the current university management team's direction of the past decade or so. I hope that is grounded in hope, but I think that through
committees mostly,
discussion, dialogue, and definitely a bit of lobbying if need be, and because everyone loves a good bit of protesting and lobbying.
So thank you so much for coming into us.
Questions.